When a surgeon cuts someone open, it's exactly the same act as when a bad guy cuts someone open. Action conceals meaning so much that a security guard locking up a school is identical in action to a kidnapper locking up his victims. The intentions are where things start becoming very different. Action is where we find the smallest amount of spirituality, far less than emotions and intellect, which are aspects of the human consciousness. For the spiritual soul, this means she needs to conceal herself completely to come into the physical world of meaningless action. But still, she does it, and that's because there's something very special in action. There's something really important in the physical universe. What can be so special about a physical world with apples and oranges, buildings and rocks and tunnels and bridges? What could a perfect, infinite, spiritual soul find in a limited and physical, meaningless universe? Imagine changing a world full of useless things and turning them into meaningful entities. This is what brings the soul all the way down our psyche, into our 3 levels of intellectual comprehension, into our emotions, which then influence our actions. A famous Kabbalist of the ancient city of Tzefas, Reb Shlomo Alkabetz of the mid-1500s, studied Kabbalah with the greatest Kabbalists of his times. In a hymn he wrote, we find an interesting yet powerful message. Soif ma'aseh olab machshava tchila, which means that the end act is found in thought first. In other words, when we have an idea to build a building, we don't first think of all the parts and all the rooms that will be in it. We don't first build the blueprint and make all the plans. That's a later stage. In our initial thought, we wanted the end result. All the planning and ideas only come in later to bring about that end result. The same is with the soul. Her journey into our psyche starts with the mind and then goes into the heart. But the initial intent of the soul was to reach our actions and influence our doings in this physical world. That's why she started this whole process of concealment after concealment. In his Kabbalistic work, Sefer Yetzira, the Book of Formation, the author, who we actually don't know exactly who he was, we just know it was from a very long time ago, writes about the 10 Sefirot, which are the source of the 10 attributes of the soul, among many other cryptic passages, notes tchilasan b'seifan v'seifan b'tchilasan, which means their beginning is anchored in their end and their end in the beginning. This passage expresses pretty much the same idea as that which we've mentioned before in the name of Reb Shlomo Alkabetz. The earliest point of coming down and connecting with lower realms is deeply connected with the end result and what will happen on the very bottom. This is a very relatable concept, to me at least. A doctor can study to fix all the world's issues, but if they never get their hands on the job, then what's the point of getting the degree in the first place? If a skilled salesperson can't sell anything, what's the point of their skill? If a Kabbalah video doesn't get any views, then what's the point of recording it in the first place? So please share this video with people who you think might be interested. If a pure soul can't get a good act into the light of the world, then what's the point of her concealing herself into our minds and hearts and feelings and understanding? If our soul can't ever get us to be generous or kind, why should she give us life in the first place? But that's what this is all really about. The soul comes into us and gives us life and energy so that we can impact the world, so our physical experience is unified and connected with the truth and purity of the eternal soul. When we bring the soul and her desires into our lives and incorporate them, we reveal the purpose for which we're alive to begin with. Take all the potential energy the soul invests within us and we utilize it to connect with our true and real selves, the deepest parts of us deep inside. And when we reveal that, when we meet other people, we also connect to that deepest point within them. We don't focus on the external and unnecessary things within them. We take all the potential energy the soul invests within us and we use it to connect with the deepest parts of ourselves. And then when we meet other people around in the world, we also connect to that deepest part within them, instead of looking at the external and unnecessary things. And then it turns out that we've utilized our life and our energy for pure and sincere and real reasons, instead of just human and bodily temptation. This is action, and this is what the soul intended all along for us. This adds understanding, perspective, and clarity to what we really are in essence. We are physical bodies in a physical world with a spiritual soul. When we use our consciousness and bodies to fulfill the wills of the soul, we combine and unify all those parts of us into one true and wholesome self, which is real and purposeful. Why the soul enters us in the first place is like we said in the last video. Her desires are from within her wholesomeness and purity. They are part of her essence and inseparable from her. We cannot understand the true extent of her infinite and pure desires, but when we bring our body and our human temptations and incorporate them within the desires of the soul to fulfill them, we incorporate these tangible and these finite beings, which are really part of us, and we incorporate them within the infinite and essence of the soul. But it doesn't end here. We still need to learn about the spiritual evolution of cosmic realities through which the soul journeys into our bodies and how she relates to angels and other souls. How the soul is born from her previous infinite and unified essence within God into a human source of life.